give it another shot. And
Start from the beginning?
Yeah, let's start from the beginning.
Okay. You ready?
Mhm.
Okay. Off camera, I'm Dr. Marty Olaf, Director of the Wiregrass Archives and Professor of History at Troy University Dothan campus. I'm with Mitt Kirkland, who is the Chief Operating Officer of the Wiregrass Black History Channel. Together we are conducting interviews with people in Dothan, African American elders who have lived through the time of desegregation, the time of segregation, and the time of after the desegregation era, the Civil Rights Movement era. But we are primarily talking with them about their experiences in Southside. This is all in connection to a grant from the Society of American Archivists Foundation. That grant is entitled the Wiregrass Black History Project. Today is April 17th, 2025, and we are conducting an interview on camera with Mr. Curley Bruner. Mr. Bruner, do you give the Wiregrass Black History Project, consisting of the Wiregrass Archives and the Wiregrass Black History Channel on YouTube, permission to use both the raw footage and edited products of your interview?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Okay. I think that's all I need.
Okay. All right, Curly, tell me, what was it like growing up on the South Side?
Growing up on Southside, we was poor, but our parents provided for us. And to me, it was pretty good. We did what we had to do, and we had love. We looked out for each other. And if someone needed anything, we would provide for them. And then if we need anything, they'll provide for us. But to me, it was pretty good. But we was poor.
Would you describe your house? You were born in Southside. What address did y'all live at?
713 Bell Street.
713 Bell Street, okay. And what did that property look like?
It was clean.
Okay.
But you had, like, some of them was a substandard house, as we say today. But they kept it clean.
Mm-hmm.
We cut our grass.
Mm-hmm.
We just kept it together. We looked out for each other.
Can you describe the property and the house that you lived in?
My house was like what we call shotgun house. But we had bedroom, we had a kitchen, and on the back of that house, my dad had a room built, and we had a bathroom, and we had water, we had hydrant, and then we had a chicken yard. But I never can remember anything about an outhouse. But I knew there was one there at one time because I could see the indication in the middle of the chicken yard.
Yes, sir. And so you had indoor plumbing. You had a toilet inside the house in that room that your father had added on.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay. And earlier we were talking about the size of the lot. And now that you are a fully grown man and know a lot more about property, you remind me of what that lot was like.
It was like 100 wide. No, I'm sorry. It was like 75 feet wide and about 100 deep.
Okay, so 75 wide, 100 deep.
It could have been more because we had enough to have 7 or 8 rows of vegetable and about 10 to 15 yards long.
Okay, Okay.
So,
And you kept chickens also?
yes, we did.
How frequent was that among your neighbors? Did everybody garden and keep chickens, or did few people do that?
No, as I can remember, it was quite a few.
Okay.
Yeah, it was quite a few.
Mitt, you've got another question?
What were some of your fondest memories on the South Side?
The funnest memory to me was on Thursday when the downtown was shut down at 12 o'clock. And all the grown men and so forth would come over to the schoolyard. And we would play, and this is especially during the summer. And during the school year too, and we would play baseball against them. And they taught us well how to play.
So it was the young boys against the adult men.
Old man.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Oh, who were some of the people that you played baseball with in those pickup games?
Was Cookie's daddy, his uncles, and his cousin name was Bubba Palmer. And I remember him well because I was a catcher. He would snatch the ball in front of you before you could even swing. And he done got hit many times in the head.
Yeah, the injuries of baseball playing. Yeah.
And then we had them guys over there on Lena Street. They'll come through the fence. They want to play with us.
Those guys. Now,
Yeah.
Cookie Potter talked about there being a couple of white kids.
Yeah, Richard
That's who-
Seaman and all
Okay,
of them.
when you said there were, say like there were a couple of white guys that would
Okay.
look through the fence, kind of give us a lead in, okay?
Okay. Yeah, and there was a couple of white guys. Namely, I knew one, Richard Seaman. They would come and play with us.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to play with us, and we let them play. We had a good time.
Okay, Marty, don't say Okay. You got a question?
No, I don't.
Okay. You went on to play baseball in college. Tell me about that.
A very good experience. I was
Say like playing. Did you get a scholarship?
yes.
Okay. Tell me about your high school, then go to your college. Okay.
Well, my high school,
Tell us where you played at.
Carver. I played at Carver, and I was a catcher. And Sonny Cooper, which was my cousin, was the coach. And then I left from there and went to Alabama State on a baseball scholarship. And stayed at State 2.5, 3 years. And then therefore, I went in the Air Force, and we was playing fast pitch softball then. And then I went into Europe and played softball and football, tackle football in Germany.
Okay. How did living on the South Side help you become the person that you are today?
It taught me respect, integrity. And,
Always start off with what I say with the question, like.
okay. Living on the South Side.
Yeah.
Okay. Living on the South Side, it taught me to respect the elders, respect each other, integrity, and love. Most of all, love. Yes, sir.
Anything else you want to say about living there? Anything that really stands out to you?
We was togetherness. We were very togetherness. We looked out for each other. And that was the most important thing to me that I ever seen. We loved each other. We looked out for each other. And we still communicate with each other when we got grown.
Okay, Curley, why is it important to you to preserve the history of the South Side, life on the South Side?
life on preserving the history on the life on the South Side, that just to me show the younger generation to appreciate what we had to go through. And, you know, because a lot of the young people just don't know. They don't know what we had to go through or what we had to do to survive. And so it should teach them and learn them what we had to go through.
Okay, anything else you want to add to that, Curley?
Well, you know, there's other things, you know, there's quite a bit of things. You know, we could sit here half a day, all day, and still talk about Southside, because it was fun to me and I enjoyed it. And you see, they never talked about the sawmill quarters, you know. And you know, those rough days, but those people had to have jobs. And they came to the sawmill, and they came from the surrounding areas to get jobs. And they had houses for them. We call them the mill quarters, sawmill quarters. And, you know, and that was fun to me. So we used to run up through them sawmill yards and everything get on the lumber they done cut. We were some program boys.
Okay, Curley, tell me about the things y'all did in the neighborhood, like playing, and you were mentioning earlier about how y'all made your own bicycles and stuff like.
Yeah.
Tell me about some of the things y'all did to spend time and have fun.
And to kill time, what we call kill time, if we could find a frame, we could make our bikes. And we get a wheel, and you know, our dad probably had to buy the tires and things like that. But we shot a lot of marbles. I mean, you know, we just made things to do. Anything. We made our own basketball goals and everything. All we need was a basketball.
Now, Cookie had mentioned about the baseball field that y'all played baseball behind the school. Can you tell us about that? Did y'all have real bats? Did you have gloves? Did you have bases? Just tell me about, just kind of describe to me the field and the conditions of the field and the things that y'all did.
And playing, you know, baseball, the fields, we had grass field. You didn't have the dirt out infield like they have now. You know, we had grass outfield, but we had real bats. We had balls. We had all gloves, and you know, the catcher had his outfit. And a lot of the men, they bought their own outfit, you know, and they looked out for us, and we have to swap gloves sometimes. If we didn't have a glove, we have to swap gloves with the grown men and things, because they had already had equipment. They were playing sandlot baseball on like Sundays. They'll go down to State Line, Greenwood, Florida, Panama City, Florida, and play. So it was a good time. We enjoyed. We had it. We enjoyed it. We had good fun.
Let me ask you some more specific questions about Southside and the physicality of it and what y'all did in it as opposed to how you played and things like that. You mentioned the sawmill as Williams Voris Lumber Company, which was off to the west of the Southside neighborhood residential area a little bit.
Across the street.
So tell me what you know about that and what you remember about the lumber mill itself. You talked a little bit about it. Please tell me some more about the lumber mill.
Well, the most thing about the mill quarter, to me, I remember when my daddy left and he went to Cleveland, Ohio to work to support us. And when he came back, he was when he left Dothan, he was the Johnson at First Baptist Church. And when he came back, well, they had hired another, Mr. Joe Glenn. And so when he came back to Dothan, they said, well, we can't have two. So we'll let Mr. Glenn go. And Curley, you can stay and work. My daddy said, no, I will find a job. You keep Joe Glenn. You keep Joe Glenn. My daddy went to the sawmill. And he had to work at the sawmill. I'm going to say about 6 to a year, and they called him back from First Baptist and said, we go keep both of them. So they did.
Let me probe that just a little bit more. When you say he was janitor at First Baptist, was that First Missionary Baptist, or was it the white church?
The white church.
Okay, the white
On
First
Main Street.
Baptist on Main Street, right? Still there today in
Yeah.
2025.
Yeah.
It was a large church.
And I know every inch of it.
Yeah, I bet you do. When your father worked over at the sawmill for a year and a half, what kind of work did he do there?
Stacking lumber.
Okay.
Stacking lumber.
Okay, always lead with, my dad worked at the sawmill.
Okay.
Okay.
My dad had worked at the sawmill, and his job was to stack lumber.
So he worked for a year and a half stacking lumber.
About a year.
About a year stacking lumber. Okay. And then he went back to First Baptist as the custodian.
Right.
Did your mother work outside of the home?
She worked vaguely. She worked for the health department, veterinary health department, for a while, but mainly she raised us.
Okay.
My dad he wanted us to be raised, you know. He didn't want her to be working. But then she started working for Southeast Alabama Medical Center.
What did she do for them?
She was housekeeping.
Okay.
And she retired from that.
Ah.
And so did my sister.
Oh.
She retired from there. My cousin, he retired from there. So,
when your father went to Cincinnati, do you remember the years, the year that he was there, about approximately when he was there?
I can't remember the year.
Okay.
So he went to Cleveland.
I'm sorry. Yes, Cleveland. And do you know what he did when he was there?
No, I don't.
Okay. You were born in 1946, and the urban renewal project in Southside really began in earnest in 1958. The city began buying property in late 58 or early 59. When did you folks leave? When did your family leave Southside, and where did you go and what did you do?
When we left Southside, we built a house. It was in 1958, I believe.
Okay.
And we went to Lakeview on the east side of town, right off of Stringer Street. And then we moved to Eagle Road. So that's where we moved to. But you know, we had already. Let me say this: my daddy was the last one that sold his property, and then we bought what we need on the east side, Lakeview, they call it.
Did y'all build a house there, or did you?
Lakeview.
Yeah, on Lakeview. Yes.
We was building the house and we were building the church at the same time.
Which church?
New Bethel Baptist Church.
After it moved.
On Allen Road.
Okay.
After it moved from Allen Street.
Do you know if your parents built your house as part of the Section 220 federal program?
No,
Are you saying you don't know, or that they did not?
they
do that?
did not.
Okay.
whatever they sold for their house and property, we started building, paying for ourselves. And I think my daddy talked to Mr. West in First Baptist, First Bank or something, First National Bank. And then he went from there and, and build his own. We got different peoples to help. There was a lot of people that could do that type work, and they helped. And they helped with the church. And I was small, but I was pushing wheelbarrows of bricks and mortar.
Everybody worked.
Everybody worked.
Everybody worked. So when y'all were in Southside, on Bell Street, you owned that property.
We owned that property that my daddy paid for it. I think his house payment was like $11 a month.
But eventually he paid that.
He paid that.
He paid it. Yeah, that's very good. So many people rented in that area.
He bought his. He paid $11 a month. Do you pay for it?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Curley, if there's one thing that stands out in your mind, from living on the South Side to moving to Lakeview, and in your childhood and growing up, what would that be?
One thing standing in my mind is we had to go to my mind. We had to go to ball practice, baseball. We had to walk from Southside down through town to get to Lakeview, to the center. And that's staying in my mind. It was a long walk there and back. And then late at night, you had to walk back. But my dad, he would always get off of work and walk with me until we got large enough that we could do it on our own. And then the Lakeview, what stood out in my mind at Lakeview, they had a pool down there. And everybody on the weekend, everybody from both sides of town was at that pool. And they, had their restaurants and things down there. So that stood out in my mind about Lakeview, and then Southside.
And that community center that was over in Lakeview, that was Lincoln Community Center?
Lincoln Community Center, Mr. Bell.
Okay.
Andrew Bell.
Okay, Curly, I can remember we used to go over to Lincoln Center, and they would have those semi-pro games on the field. Did you ever play in any of those games?
Oh, yes, sir. Every time they played, I was there. When I was a little younger, but I was a teenager, and I was doing the catching for them. And sometimes I would go over the north side to my girlfriend and come back, and they'll be behind, and they would put me and Billy Bougie in the game, and we'll win the game for them. That's what stands up in my mind.
You had said something in our previous conversation before we began taping about talking about the White Horse Restaurant. Do you have anything to say about the White Horse?
Yeah, we couldn't go in there. We could only peep in the window.
Okay, lead in with the White Horse.
The White Horse Cafe, we were small. And we would hear the rock cola and the music and thing. And we'll get together and we'll slip up there and go and look. And we'll slip up there and go and look, but we had to peep in the window, and we had to peep in the door, and they'd be dancing and things, and we'd be looking at each other. But we could not go in there now.
Did they try to run you off whenever y'all were peeping in the windows?
We knew better. We'd get a whooping.
You also said that there was another restaurant very close to the White Horse, which was in the 500 block of Alice Street. But there was another restaurant close to that you mentioned. Can you remember the name of that?
I was talking about Miss Ruth Berry. And that's that that's the only one I can remember. Just Miss Ruth Berry it was on the right hand side of Alley Street.
Talk to me about shopping, things like that. Did y'all go to the Langham grocery store? Did you go to the Davis grocery store that were on Alice Street? Or other people in this interview collection have talked about not going to those, but going into town to shop. Do you recall your family doing anything like that?
Back in those days, on Southside, we shopped at Langham grocery store, and there was also Fuller grocery store, but mainly we shopped at Langham's grocery store, and then later on, we shopped other places like the Piggly Wiggly. A&P, that was the main thing. A&P was a good deal, was the main thing.
And those stores were downtown?
Virtually of downtown, A&P was, back at the beginning of downtown.
As opposed to being in the
Right.
Southside
Now,
neighborhood.
Langham Grocery was there right across the street from White Horse Cafe. So
Now,
it was in the community.
Okay. Curly, what other type businesses were there in the neighborhood? Were there different businesses in the neighborhood, or just mainly a couple of cafes and stores?
Just a couple of cafes and stores. That was the only business there.
Okay. Now, how about the churches in the neighborhood? Tell me about the churches in the neighborhood.
In the churches of the neighborhood is what we had, our church was on Alley Street. New Bethel Baptist Church. Now I would go to church on Sunday, our church. Okay, then we had Evening Church, 5 o'clock. We had service there. And my friend, TJ Jackson, he was in resigned, so he went to South Street. And we'll go there. And then my other friend, Blue, he was Church of God and Christ. So basically, we were at 3 churches every Sunday, more or less, And sometimes we didn't get home till 12 o'clock. But we had good. We supported each other, no matter the denomination. We supported each other.
Let me ask you this. In supporting each other and going to each other's churches, was it 1 or 2 people that you went with, or was there a small gang of y'all that went together?
Well, everybody, each one had families, each church. So we went with all of them, It didn't matter with us. All we wanted to be there.
Did all 3 of the churches preach every Sunday?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they did.
Now, Curly, it was originally the AME Church was the South Street AME Church,
South Street.
Reverend Hines.
Right.
And when they moved to Lakeview, it became Hines Chapel. Do you remember that?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Tell me
Hines
about
Chapel.
that.
Well, my friend TJ, and he went to South Street, and his daddy, went to our church, New Bethel, but his mother, and they went to Hines Chapel. But we just didn't worry about denomination. We worried about each other, and we supported each other. We went to church. There are churches and things. We didn't worry about denomination.
Now, Curly, I know at one time they had street buses. Did the street buses run on South Side or just North Highland area?
They ran, those street buses was on Southside. And I can remember in the buses on the north side, unless it was, I can't remember if they had buses on the north side.
Yeah, at one time they had buses,
Did they?
city buses. It was not run by the city, it was privately owned. but they had buses that went to North Highland, which was the area of West North Street in Baptist Bottom area.
Right.
Then they had a bus that went to Acid Plant Hill, which
Okay.
was over adjacent to. Hold on.
Okay.
Okay, we're rolling. Okay, and then they had, and I remember, the bus used to go to Ridley Store, which was right at the corner of what's now, it was Airport Road then, but it's Honeysuckle Road and West Main Street.
Okay, see, that was, I ain't know nothing about it, cause we was over on the east side then. Yeah, so I can't remember that. Not to say it, it didn't help me, but I just can't even remember it.
The roads in Southside, were they paved or were they dirt or was it a mix?
The road on Southside was dirt.
What about Alice Street?
Dirt.
And so there were no paved roads that you remember, paved streets?
The pavement to Alice Street was almost down to Dothan High School then. But other than that, it was dirt. Red clay
And dusty.
and dust.
And dusty, yeah. I don't think I have any more questions. Do you have anything that we haven't covered that you would like to cover?
Yes. I remember next door to us was Blue cousin them, Miss Olga Grice. And Mr. Gus Robinson was on the right side. Mr. Gus had a mule and a wagon and a plow. This is one of my fond memories. And both of them left and went to New York and New Jersey. And they didn't come back. Well, Mr. Robinson told my daddy, you can have the mule and wagon, the plows and everything, and Jim, the mule. And that was the fond memories that, and watching my dad, how he hooked the mule up to the plows and to the wagon and things like that. So one day I said, no, I got the plow. I might have been about 10, 11, 12, about 11 to 12. And I hooked Jim up. I said, I'm gonna plow you today. I got the plow, and Jim drove me all over the field. And now, my mom was just laughing. My dad was laughing. He said, you see what I go through, don't you?
Mule's got a mind of his own.
He had some Missouri Mustang in him. He was wild.
Now, Curly, do you remember Mo Rainey that had a mule and wagon used to plow? Do you remember?
Mo Rainey? No, I don't remember.
You don't remember Mo Rainey? Yeah, he used to come plow my granddaddy's garden. He had a mule and wagon.
Okay. Then, we used to ride. We had to exercise and real ride him, hook him up. My mom and dad, my dad would hook him up, and me and my mom and dad would be riding the mule in the wagon. I'd be sitting in the center.
Now, did y'all have a car during that time?
We had a car later. We had a 49 Chevrolet with the doors backwards. And then Daddy, he kept moving up the Chevrolet. We had 64s, we had 63, we had 56, 57s, and 64.
Now, Curly, I know some of the other interviews we did with some of the other people that lived on the South Side. How did you get from the South Side to Montana Street School? I know South Street School only went 1st through 3rd,
Right.
and then y'all had to go to Montana. What type of transportation did you have?
The transportation we had from Southside to North Island. Now, myself and T.J. Jackson, we had bicycles. And the rest of them, they walked. Some of them had bicycles too, but mostly they walked. Walked down, what is that? Alice Street, down through to North Island, down through town by the First Baptist Church.
Did you consider that to be a long haul or a relatively short distance?
It was long, but to us it was short. Cause we'd be talking and laughing and before we know it, we was at school. But TJ and I, we were fortunate enough to have bicycles, and we had bicycles alike, and they were swinging with the rack on the back and a horn and a light.
Tell me about Southside School. You remember your teachers.
Yes.
Can you tell me something about them so we can capture it for the interview?
Yeah, Southside School. We had some good teachers. They mean what they said, and they said what they mean. I can remember Miss West, she was real good. She was real sweet. And she taught us well, Miss Morris, the 2nd and 3rd grade. Now, if you mess up, there was a little tree outside. She'd go and say, sit on this desk, sit on that desk, sit in that chair. She'll get a switch from out there, and the thing about it, she'll make you go and get the switch. And she'll whoop it 2 at a time. She'll cross your leg. But, that kept us straight. She kept us straight.
So you had Ms. West for 1st grade?
1st grade.
And Ms. Morris for 2nd and 3rd?
2nd and 3rd.
And that's how the grades were divided, correct? I mean, you had 2nd and 3rd together and 1st grade by itself in basically a 2-room school?
Right, right. So, but Southside have learned me a lot. Made me the man I am. So, I enjoy it.
I'm good.
Yeah, I think I'm good.
Okay.
Okay.